So today we've got something that's really interesting. We've got a car that's come in from the dip, and I want to actually take this opportunity for us to be able to go over a couple of the different methods of stripping a car. The first is mechanical stripping using sandpaper and sanders. You can use blocks as well, and at this point in time you can actually use the paint surface itself, if it's got good adhesion, as a primer surface so that you don't have to spend as much time blocking and putting on material and taking it off. Second in the process would be any kind of media blasting, whether it be walnut, soda blasting, or black shot. Those are your options, but there's a couple of different things that you have to worry about with it. For one, it's the mess that's involved, because it will get into every little nook and cranny, and then you have to try and get that out. Otherwise, when you go to paint, the pressurized air will blow it all out, and it'll land all over your paint job, and that's the last thing that you want. Second thing with soda blasting and sand blasting, whether it be black shot or what it may be, is you have different consistencies to the surfaces. So you've got metal, and then you've got, say, a large amount of filler, and then you've got metal again. When someone concentrates at going across those surfaces, and it takes more time to take the filler off, or less time to take the filler off, what you'll end up getting is distortion in the panel, because there's concentration going on in areas where are getting the blasting effect and others that are not. So what'll end up happening is you'll end up warping the panel, and somebody who knows what they're doing can actually avoid warping the panel. But more often than not, especially with an aluminum car, you have to be very aware that there's a danger of warping the panel if you go with blasting. Now, dipping is the last one, and there's a lot of myths and there's a lot of controversy around it, but I can tell you from the years of experience that we've had that dipping is the most effective way of you being able to take any kind of paint, rust, or corrosion off of the vehicle. But it is a committal process as well. So that means once it goes into the dip, whatever comes out is what you're stuck with. So at that point in time, you may have a car or you may have a piece of scrap. It really is going to depend on the condition of the car going in the dip. That's one of the downfalls. One of the myths is that it will actually start bleeding from the seams because you cannot get the acid out from inside. That is not true. If it is neutralized properly and it is prepped properly, a paint job will last for decades on a car that's been dipped.
I'm Dave Grainger. I'm the president of the Guild of Automotive Restorers, a restoration company that's been in business for over 30 years. We have restored over 2,500 cars, trucks, and other vintage vehicles. If you're curious about what goes on behind the scenes of a large restoration shop, join us at the Guild's Classics.
As soon as we get any car back from the acid dippers, the main thing that we have to do is be very careful about how and where we touch it, because there's a protective coating over top of it that stops it from rusting. Even the acid in your fingers will actually end up causing a reaction where it will flash rust almost immediately. So what we have to do is we have to neutralize it first. Any acid that's on the surface and that protective coating has to be taken off. Once that's done, then we can take it and we can metal prep it with some metal cleaner specifically for getting it ready for paint, and then at that point in time we can go into primer.
We stripped her all down and sent it out to be dipped. And this is the result of getting it dipped. Now we just got to wait and see what happens when we get it on the rotisserie and turn it over. See, hopefully the underneath it looks pretty good so far, so we'll see how it goes.
That's what I was saying, because this has been in an acid bath. There could be acid and chemicals inside of these points that we don't want. So we'll actually wheel it outside now. We're going to run water over this thing and make sure that there's nothing in there. We bring it back in, we're going to clean the whole body, and then it's going to get epoxy sprayed on. Okay, well, when I got acid washed, one of the last steps we did was use a phosphate. Phosphate's built up in all the hidden places inside the car. If we just leave it there and paint the car, there's a good chance that will run out. So we wash the car because it's water-based and get it out of there. And now he's blowing it off to get any water out of those same spaces, because any water left in there, if you add water and oxygen, you get rust. So that's the kind of thing that we do just because customers are paying for this kind of attention, so we try to give them that kind of attention. So once it's all dry here and everything, then we'll take it back in. And then we have to scratch up the metal, so we'll use a scratch pipe pad just to scratch up the metal. And then we proceed on to the next step, which is to get that metal covered up. We use a metal cleaner solution. And when we spray it on here, we're going to take a Scotch-Brite pad and we'll just give it a rub. You see how all it's black and everything starts forming? That's the oxidization that causes rust. Now we get to that point, we wipe her down. We got to do the entire car, inside, outside, everything that's metal. When it gets to the booth, and you can see some of the parts over there if you want to look at them at one point. Those have been done. They've been, we'll call it primer, but it's actually an epoxy. So when it gets to the booth, it'll get wiped down one more time with a different type of cleaner, but it does the final part of all this, cleaning off any grease, oils, handprints. Because even your hand, like your hand is dry, put your hand on there and take it away. When you go to spray something on it, you'll actually see your handprint because the oil's in your hand. So we have to remove all of that and then spray it in epoxy. Once it's in epoxy, now we can go back and repair all the things that we have to repair, but the epoxy will keep the bare metal from rusting.
Just primed 76 MG because it was bare metal, so I put etch primer on it first, and then I put epoxy primer on it, just to protect it from rusting until we're done the body and metal work.
So I hope that this was very informative. You get to be able to see behind the acid dip process exactly what the myths are and exactly what it is that the process has to offer. We show everything from pre all the way to post. So with this, hopefully you'll be able to make an informed decision as to what kind of stripping process you're going to use on your next restoration.